papi.
It's a little bit crazy. You're suddenly blurry now. I wonder if anything was real. All our history's hazy, like driving in the pouring rain. Are we in too deep to heal? You tell me that you're sorry, we'll make up tomorrow. Tell me everything you know I wanna hear. I'm trying to be open, but that window is closing. And either way, I need to make it clear before we're leaving here. Before we're leaving here.
I know it ain't easy, but there's something left to hold on to. We can work it through, you don't have to go. There's a future here with me. We'll find the light in a clouded room. Not giving up until you know.
You tell me that you're sorry, we'll make up tomorrow. Tell me everything you know I wanna hear. I'm trying to be open, but that window is closing. And either way, I need to make it clear before we're leaving here. Either way, I need to make it clear before we're leaving here.
And shalom, everyone. Shalom. I want to welcome everyone back again, back to the house of the Lost Sheep of Israel. I'm Elder Michael Johnson, which we went through a pretty interesting teaching today. And before we actually get started with anything, I still have to make the notice to the churches of Christ and letting them know the time is running out. I already know that you guys pretty much has given up to say what you guys are and wait until everything is done to where you guys can go back out and teach your lies and saying that you guys are the ones that are in the Bible. So I get that. But the thing is, it's to show your people, it's to show these people who's tied up in these churches that you guys has told them a great lie. And just proving that you guys not who you say you are. And the same thing is with that. It's the same thing with this. For the simple fact that you guys have a lot of pride tied up in what you guys do. Cannot sit there and come to the truth on what your pride is. And it's the same thing that's going on today. And what we seeing, where we come here, is pride. The doctrine that comes with it. And pride is nothing more than a justifiable self-respect, which is actually better known as just conceited or extreme arrogance. It's the pride of exalting oneself, and better being referred to as they being puffed up or inflated with an ego. Something that need to be checked at the door. This is one of the main reasons why I counseled the service for Passover that was actually scheduled for today. For the simple fact that we have so many people that egos need to be checked at the door. This is not something where we keep telling people. This is not something where you come in and feel that you carry some type of weight, some type of clout, to where you can not only believe it for yourself, but also pass that on to other people as if you are it. We have this where, not just with that, we can talk about people who teach on the street corners, but not checking our own self-pride. We can check people in other churches, but we can't check our own self-pride based on how stuff come out, based on how we see the Bible, and believe that no matter what, I am one of the ones that I know that God is looking for in these last days. Based on what you feel you know. This is a hardcore set of pride that is set upon many of us, believing that we are it. And as the Bible even tells us, even them will scarcely make it in. But we feel we are it. Just based on either who we're associated to or based on what we know. The biggest problem that goes on today. So we looking at this thing, the doctrine of pride. We're not going to be before you long. We're going to also go in the back. We're going to go into the classroom area and share even a little bit more. That's what we're going to be moving forward on. But this here has to be stopped. It has to be just counseled out. Because this doctrine of pride is going to get many people caught up into something that he is not looking for whatsoever. So we need to pay attention to what this pride is. Because many of us have it, and some of us will sit there and act like we don't have it. But I want to invite you over. We're going to look at something. We're going to look at Isaiah. We're going to look at chapter 16. We're going to pick it up at verse 6. We're right over here. And it says, we have heard of the pride of Moab. It's a particular reason why I went here. Led to go here and to where we can get a better understanding on what is actually happening. Because we want to know what Moab is and what it's all about. But it's telling you, we heard the pride of Moab. He is very proud, even of his haughtiness, including his pride, including his wrath, but his lies shall not be so. This is highly interesting. See, because we quick to throw rocks at anyone. But even here today, it's very bad. Because I'm going to share some things with you that we need to really personally understand for ourselves. Because Moab is not actually just talking about a people. Moab is talking about a person, a group of people, on what they are. Because Moab means water of a father's seed. Water of a father's seed. And we know the father is of Satan. He is the father of lies. He is the father of boasting. He is the father of everything that God is not looking for. And there's more to it with that Moab, with the water of a father's seed, which is a waste. And that's what it actually is. Because these people that he's talking about, even in scripture, is very proud people. I don't care what you do, even the haughtiness, because haughtiness is still talking about proud and vainglory and arrogance. And when we get to those particular words of vainglory and arrogance, we think that we are this, and we think we are the people of all people, not knowing we are put over here because of our arrogance. We're put over here because we feel we didn't have to listen to God. We feel we was all that in a bag of chips. And we get here, even in our captivity, that head has rose again. We see it. I've seen it personally just this past week. Just this past few weeks, it was rapid. Arrogance. Vain glory. And pride is sin. And it's an attitude. It's an attitude that people have. In the attitude of the heart and the spirit, and one have, even with the haughty eyes, the haughty understanding. This is something that need to be curved out. Something that need to be checked at the door. Something that need to be called completely out. To see, are we going to continually move forward as a people to learn from God, or to sit there to think that we are above all? In fact, we look over here. I want you to see something in Proverbs chapter 21. We're going to look at verse 4. And it says, a high look and a proud heart, and the plowing of the wicked is sin. These things come with a proud look, proud heart. Having the understanding of, we say, understandings. These things is pride, and this pride is nothing more than sin. I don't care how we look at this. I don't care how you play this. Because we'll sit there and we talk to people, and you can hear pride. This proud arrogance that goes out. We'll tell people what we believe on everything, that we're above everybody. In fact, in Proverbs 6:17, it even says more. It's talking about, it says, a proud look and lying tongue. A proud look and a lying tongue including hands, the power that sheds innocent blood. We're good for doing this. We don't have no problem to seek something of another's life. We like to boast on one end and demean another, or acknowledge one has pride, seeking contemptible treatment of another person based on a statement from a proud heart and a lying tongue. I'm doing this. See, you can tell this is really a problem. This is a huge problem that been going for a while, and it's trying to grow. But just letting you know, I don't stand on that side. We have so many people who, and I heard this statement many times on what I'm getting ready to say. I heard this many times. People will tell you that they sat in churches, these buildings, as we all have. Many of the children have not, but many people and many of us have sat in churches. Some of us longer than others. And the first thing come out of their mouth, to where they're so proud, they'll sit there and they'll tell people that they always knew something was wrong in the church. They always knew this. Something was wrong with the church. However, they sat there for 10, for 20, for 30, for 40, for 50, for 60 years. Meaning, they don't want to never admit that they were actually wrong. They saying, I'm sitting here, but I know something is wrong, so I'm not really being deceived because I know something is wrong. It's a proud heart. They don't want to admit that they was deceived. The Bible tells you that Satan deceived the world, but they said, I was not deceived. I know what was going on. A proud look, a lying tongue. You have people say they can tell when preachers and people is lying. If that's true, if that's really actually true, we'll tell preachers they're lying. But you'll sit on the preacher for these many years and saying you're sitting under the truth. But now you'll say that you're sitting under a lie, but you always knew something was wrong. Failing to come to grips that you was deceived. So you're so proud of that. And you don't want to show the humbleness in knowing that, Ron, tell you what, I've been learning under a lie. And now I know what is right. But let me step back and change ways. No, we can't do that. We got to sit there and know something was always wrong, but I just sat there. That's ignorance. That's pure ignorance on doing that. And our biggest problem is we choose not to play the victim. We always knew something was wrong. So we here at this time, at this point. In Sirach chapter 10, verse 12, it says, the beginning of pride is when one departed from God. This is scripture. The beginning of pride is when you depart from God. And his heart is turned away from his maker. Because if you're saying you're not prideful and you're not deceived, or you was not ever deceived, You don't even know who God is. Product is the one who departs from God himself and becomes wise in their own eyes. That's one of the problems that we have today. We become wise in our own eyes. And the main thing is this, is as we continually do, as we go through scripture and just seeing what stems pride. In Romans chapter 1, verse 22, it's saying this, and it makes it perfectly clear on what need to be happening and what need to be said, because professing themselves to be wise, they became fools. See, this is why I say you have many places like to play games. Many places want to make sure their numbers is right. Many people want to make sure things is right when they deal with people. Just like I said, all we here to do is teach. To make sure people is prepared that God can be one of the ones that you're looking for. That it could be you in these last days. Not sitting here seeing how many people we can get at a time. It's not that kind of game. But we have a problem with that. And then we have a problem where we want people to hear what we have to say. Based on numbers. Based on lies. Because the pride is the beginning of sin. That our heart be turned away from God. So many of us has fallen to this evil beast, becoming a fool. And when we professing ourselves to be what we are, he told us he's going to break that. He told us what he was going to do. He said clear as day what he was going to do when we have this pride that's set up in us, and he's not going to deal with it himself. So the same thing is what he did with many of us and people who don't like it. And I'm one of them, can't stand it. And if I clearly know that the pride is there in what I see, I separate from it because I don't want to be around the pride. I do not want to hear it, do not want to talk about it because the pride is there. In Leviticus chapter 26, and we're looking at verse 19, God even tells, he says, I will break the pride of your power. He's going to break that. He's going to tear that down. That's a full thought there. He's going to tear that down. He's going to tear down your arrogance. He's going to tear down your haughtiness that you done built up thinking that you're it. Pride, egos. Many of us has built up these false cities, these false walls, as if we part of God creating the world. That's craziness. That's pure craziness. God said, I'm going to break this pride. I'm going to break it. I'm going to break this pride. And he said, I will make your heaven as iron and your earth as brass. He's not playing here. We want to play this game with him. And as he's saying right here, clear that I'm going to break your pride. Let me go here real quick. We're going to see something. We're going to go to 1 Corinthians chapter 12. Picking up at verse 4. It says, now these are diversities of gifts, but the same Spirit. The same identical Spirit. The Spirit that diverse and as he gives one some knowledge and some wisdom. And he says here, it says there are diversity of administrations, but the same Lord. And there are diversities of operation, but the same God, which worketh all in all. But the manifestation of the Spirit is given to every man to profit withal. Why are we here? Because God's Spirit is diverse. And he gives these some knowledge and some wisdom, some understanding. But many has taken this as a badge of pride. Many has claiming and don't have it, but they claim it as a badge of pride. So God said, I'm going to make your heavens iron and your earth brass. Even as the Spirit of God, he will also flee from you. And he will not rest in you. God do not rest in proud bodies. So anybody telling you, and they pride, and they very proud, believe God don't rest in proud bodies. People living in pride will spend their days in vain, empty and full of lies. Empty and full of lies. It's very upfront what he's saying. He's very upfront on what he's saying. In verse 20 in Leviticus, it says this more. It says, and your strength shall be spent in vain, for your land shall not yield her increase, neither shall the trees of the land yield their fruits. Exactly the point. You're going to spend your life in vain, puffed up in nothing on your tree. Puffed up in nothing on your tree. Your increase is vain, though fruit is there. No fruit to bloom. You get some knowledge, you get some wisdom, and many of us, we think we know everything. And you have some people even sitting there saying they know what gifts someone else has. They had the gifts to know what somebody else's gifts are. Even in 1 Corinthians, it says, now concerning the spiritual gift, brother, I would not have you be ignorant. And here to go down the list, but you'll never see where you will have the gift of knowing what someone else's gifts are. But arrogance will. Pride will. Because you're trying to lift one up to where you can lift yourself. Yeah, people even going around where they'll go around, they'll talk about the third eye. Oh, well, I got a third eye. They'll say stupid stuff. A third eye. But this is what happens when people get a little bit of information and pride kicks in. We come here on a consistent basis, and for some reason, we always look above anything else. And the same thing is when we even came here, and you see even our own people stand on the street corners telling people what they're going to do to someone when they get into the kingdom. It's pride. Straight pride. And think nothing more of it. So when you look at this, it says this. And it says, woe to them that are wise in their own eyes, including prudent in their own sight. Isaiah chapter 5, verse 21. It's telling us, we professing one is wise, but the someone is saying that the one that is departing from God. Because he's wise in his own eyes. The prudent. And prudent don't mean but wise. We have learned enough from the Word of God. Now it's time for me to go and explore new things. Because I have enough. I know enough. Professing to be wise in their own eyes, departing from God because now they can move on. They learned enough from one place. And now they have all this knowledge. And I'm not saying anything about they leaving here. I'm just saying. They'll sit there and say, even in the Bible, they'll say, I got enough of this. I know what the Bible's saying, what the Bible entails. I know enough here. And now let me indulge on some other books to get some more knowledge. Wise in their own eyes, in their own understanding, including prudent, including wise, in their own sight, in their own faith. Because that's all sight is. So whatever you done thought up, you believe it. People will push up their own hype, which starts with your thoughts, your imaginations of your wickedness, which is sin. And some of us still gonna do it, no matter what. Some of us still gonna do it. Let's look at something back in Sirach chapter 10, verse 13. It says, "For pride is the beginning of sin." I don't know why we miss it. Pride is the beginning of sin. That he that have it shall pour out abomination. So you see what the problem is. And therefore, the Creator brought upon them strange calamities and overthrew them utterly. That's why he did that. These calamities are afflictions and plagues that have happened. That have happened to you. These weird things that you can't quite get your finger on. I don't know what's going on with me. I don't know why this is happening to me. Why I'm so sickly. Why this is happening. Why is this going on right here? But you wise. You wise in your own eyes. So you should know why. You know why. You remember, you're wise. You're wise in your own eyes. And you have your own faith. So when the Creator brought upon these strange calamities, you think you can fix it. I just take this and I just take that. He's trying to teach you something, but guess what? We're too wise. He's trying to teach you what you need to humble yourself down to, but we became too wise. Wise in our own eyes. Thinking we can fix anything. Thinking that we are it now because we have learned enough to where now we can part from God. We have learned enough to where now we can talk whatever we want to talk. Look on everyone in Job chapter 40 and verse 12. Look on everyone that is proud and bring him low. That's a full thought. That's a full thought. But we want to see why. We want to see why. Why did he make that statement? And bring him low. He even says more here to finish out. Then we're going to go up and see why. It says, and tread down the wicked in their place. He said he's going to put this calamity there. But let's find out why when we look at verse 8. It says, will thou also disannul my judgment? Will you also disannul? Will you void and will you replace my doctrines and my teachings? Will you really do that? Oh, yeah. 100%. 100% we'll do this. All we have to do is he give you 1 inch, we're going to take the mile. Will thou also disannul my judgments? Will thou condemn me that thou mayest be righteous? And we'll condemn the ways of God and call our ways as righteous. This is what we do. These things we do. Verse 9 says more. Hast thou the arm of God? Do you have the strength of God? Do you have that? Or canst thou thunder with a voice like him? See, he says something here that he's checking you on. Let's get it better. Let's look at this. In verse 15, let's start at verse 14. It says, then will I also confess unto thee that thy own right hand can save thee. But he says, remember now, Behemoth, you big mouth hippo, because this is what he's calling you. A behemoth, you big mouth hippo. which I made with thee, he eateth grass as an ox. You figure that one out. Oh, you figure that one out. You big mouth, and you just sit there and made claims on what you do. He said, okay, remember, you big mouth, I made thee, and he eateth grass like an ox. This big mouth eat grass like an ox. Why he ain't eating the fine, dainty meals as a lion? Why he's not eating the fine meals that is up on better land? He's eating grass like an ox, but he has to get it and forage for it. But guess what? It don't even matter. And he's what's so bad about him? Those things are more than 2 tons. They 2 tons, 4,000 plus pounds. And eating grass like an ox? But most times that's still not even enough. That's not even enough for us to even come to the realization that we are just too puffed up about what we do. That's not even enough for us. We continually do these things and puff ourselves up as if we are it with the little bitty knowledge that we get. It says, moreover, this was not enough for them, that they erred in the knowledge of God, but whereas they lived in great war ignorance, those so great plagues they call peace. It's Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 14, verse 22. It tells us this. It tells us this. That was not enough. With big mouth, full of pride, knowing nothing, and we're in a war of ignorance. He said that was not where we lived in a great war of ignorance. Dummy fighting against dummy. So even though so great plagues he had put on us, those strange calamities, to overthrow us utterly, we call them peace. That's your wisdom right there in a nutshell. That's your wisdom in a nutshell. Oh, I don't know what's going on, so the easiest thing for me to do, we know you're going to die in a great war of ignorance. See, because pride was not made for man, but man decided to put on pride. Pride was not set for us to have, but man set themselves for pride. In fact, you look at this, and when you go down to Sirach chapter 10, verse 18, it says, pride was not made for man, nor furious anger for them that are born of a woman. It's not even made for us. It wasn't even made for us. So we decide to put on pride. We putting on pride. Born to be ignorant, born to be proud, born to be haughty. Why do you think you see so many types of people? So many types. In pride, when they put on pride, it has an ugly look. All you gotta do is see somebody prideful. It's ugly. Oh, ugly look. Because the pride is there. And the same thing is, when we sit there And seeing all of us is included in this. Because when we sit there and we want to hold people at a certain level, same thing, you don't see where you go check one teaching, where I sit there and I talk about, oh yeah, y'all going to hell and we going here. You don't see that. You don't see, oh, we're going to tell you what, oh, we want reparations. No, you don't see that. It's a reason for that. We over here because we screwed up. We so quick to point fingers at anybody else than looking at ourselves. Big old behemoth mouths. We just got a big old mouth. We always got something to say. Proud. He's telling us right up front over here. Right up front. 18. Pride is not made for man. But we have these, like to do these reverse thoughts, and then we bow down to their pride, and we think pride and proud is something that's a badge of honor. The Spirit of God said he will make your heavens as iron and your earth as brass. Let's go back and we'll look at this again. Because evidently we can't remember this. Evidently this is something that's hard for us to take in. Something for us that we just don't get. In Leviticus chapter 26, and we'll look at this at verse 19, it says, and I will break the pride of your power, and will make your heaven as iron and your earth as brass. And your strength shall be spent in vain, for your land shall not yield her increase, neither shall the trees of your land yield their fruits. He's telling you right up front what he's going to do. Right up front what he's going to do. I'm going to break your pride, because you're wise in your own eyes. You walk being a know-it-all. All your years will be spent in vain. Your entire lives in vanity. Even some will live up to 100 years. You will live those years in vanity. Those days is going to be in vain, using the product of pride that you didn't sit there and decide to put that on your covering. Our ways will be spent empty, refusing to humble ourselves. We are servants of the Most High God, and we sit there and can't lower ourselves and humble. And be humble about it. See, people will sit there and they even come there, man, you know, dude, you're pretty sharp at what you do, this and that. They say all these things. I care less about that. We got a problem that we got to fix. We have a problem we have to fix. How you gonna sit there and you break down in a car and you still boasting on what you got on this car and you stuck? You can't get where you're going because the car broke. So why you gonna sit there? Well, at least I got a Cadillac. What you care about the Cadillac for? The Cadillac's broke. You can't drive it. It's broke. The man who humbled himself driving down the street in the Yugo and going right where he need to go. But we'll sit there in the Cadillac, well, look at him, he got a Yugo. Okay, you got a Cadillac and you on the side of the road. Broke. Laughing at something, and you should be looking at yourself. Refusing to humble ourselves. Refusing to humble ourselves. We see this, and it's so unbecoming of us, and it's so of us. It's so of us. It's unreal. And he said in his word we were going to see these things. It says this even more. It says, and when the Spirit of God saw that they humbled themselves, the word of the Spirit of God came to Shemaiah. The word of the Lord came to Shemaiah. Actually, Shemaiah talking about, in the Spirit of God has heard. Is this a true thing? See, these are things to where even myself I can personally look to and give me hope. It gives me hope because we trying to show that we're one of the ones that he's looking for. And the only way we can do it is we got to study to show ourselves approved. And when the word of the Lord came to Shemaiah saying, they have humbled themselves, that would be a beautiful thing to get. That would be a beautiful message to get. They have humbled themselves. And it speaks a little bit more because it's saying they have humbled themselves. For that reason, I will not destroy them, but I will grant them some deliverance. He ain't saying, no, I'm going to grant them some deliverance, including my wrath shall not be poured out upon Jerusalem by the hands of shaking. Now, shaking is a whole bunch of things because that's talking about a greedy of the fine linen. We always trying to find something better than something else. We trying to find a better covering. That's why they're making the many books. We get in trouble. So the best thing I can say to each and every one of us, we need to get rid of this pride. If you have it on, you need to take it off. It's not a pretty look. You look in the mirror, it don't look nice. So we just looking at this to understand more so what's happening here. And as we continually understand these things as we go through here, we can humble ourselves. We can humble ourselves and come up more on what we need to do. Because it's telling us, humble yourselves in the sight of the Creator, and he shall lift you up. This is James chapter 4, verse 10. So humble is a certain thing that's really unique. That's really unique because you have resisted, and resisteth. And humble is to resist. It's a highly unique word. Highly unique. Because when it's saying, it says, resist yourselves in the sight of the Creator. You got to resist this prideful thing. I told you, it's a highly unique word. But that's all it means. So you have to resist yourselves that want to be hot, that want to be haughty. And let him lift you up. In fact, we'll go a little bit more with this and see something. In 1 Peter chapter 5, I mean, picking it up at verse 5, it says, likewise, ye younger, submit yourselves unto the elder. See, a lot of people have a problem with that. They have a problem with that. It says, ye all to be subjected to one another. So the younger looks at the example of the elder, being subjected to them, being clothed in humility, being clothed in grace, because God resisteth He's going to resist the proud. He actually tells you this. Actually, before I read it, it says, be subject to one another and be clothed in humility. For God resisteth, he rejects. He rejected the proud. That's what he's telling you. I'm going to reject the proud and give grace unto the humble. The ones who sit there and they humble themselves. They pull back. So we need to look at this. We need to pay attention to it. And it says a little bit more here where we look. It says, humble yourself therefore under the mighty hand, the mighty power of God, that he may exalt you in due time. That's who you want to exalt you. You want him to exalt you. Not you exalting and boasting yourself. He says, casting all your cares upon him, full thought, for he careth for you. This is what has to happen. But he says more here in verse 8. He says, be sober. Be sober. And he's telling you just be of sound mind. Be vigilant. Be watchful. We have to be watchful because of the adversary. Because he tells you, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about seeking whom he may devour. Who he can get his seed to. He wants to see if he can give you that seed. And many of us will take it. God doeth know it the day that you eat thereof, you'll be as God's learned knowing good and evil as he do. He's going to get you to eat that. It says, whom resist, so whom humble, steadfast, meaning infirm in faith, knowing that the same afflictions are accomplished in your brethren that are in the world. So you got to remember, God is full of grace. And he'll do these things for you, but we have to be completely humble in what we do. And being called to God eternal glory with Christ. So if you lack bread, do not pride yourself on what you need. When you are poor, lest you despise your own life. Do not crave anything except your inheritance. Hopefully you take some of this advice. And do not consume it lest to cross the boundaries of your covenant that is written in the law. So if God shall return to any one of us to the honorable position, then will we know how to conduct ourselves accordingly in knowing the secrets way of all these things we need to be doing. So if we're really seeking the true inheritance, and then we'll remove this pride that we live and we're going to live righteously because God makes his face shine on our ways. Praise his name in all things. For his head is taller than the mountaintops. So not to stop saying that one can say different things in different ways. But we need to clearly get what's going on. So we can say, since I'm poor. Since I'm poor. And many will say, since I'm poor, I cannot seek the truth. But we apply ourselves to the doctrine and the teachings of the desires of God. Then your thoughts will be characterized by great faith. So we need to lay aside the ignorance of our pride, lay aside the proudness, the stubbornness, not only of our tongues, but also of our actions. For it is better to be found small in the flock of Christ than to have a permanent reputation that would be excluded from the hope which is in Christ. So what we're going to do, and hopefully that some of you guys just marinated with you. Hopefully that we got some of this. And what we're going to do right now, we're going to go inside the class area. We'll talk about this and might talk about a few other things. But I want you guys to clearly see what is happening right now. So you look down there, you see the join the live summary meeting. And hopefully, and just hopefully, that you will see that your pride need to be checked at the door. Checked at the door. So with that, I say to each and everybody, and on tomorrow we'll be over on here looking at the prayer of Jesus. And we'll show that real quick just so we'll know. We'll show there where you need to see, but we have this tomorrow at 8 o'clock. So if you want to be part of that, we have a part where people are going to be coming into the back. We have another part where people will be in the front. But the ones who's participating, we want to make sure that they're in the back of the class for that tomorrow. So with that, I say to each and every person, if you're going to join us in the back, we're looking forward to it. If not, hopefully we see you on tomorrow. So with that said, to each and every person, until next time, I say shalom.
I need